Alright folks, today's video is sponsored by one of my viewers, Gregory Coffin, which is a pretty metal name, by the way. He's an author and has a master's degree in forensic psychology. He's currently working on his PhD dissertation in psychology. Among other things, he's written a compilation of fast-paced stories that read kind of like an action movie, where good people end up in bad situations. Having to chase after a kidnapper, for example, being taken hostage during a robbery. They're in ebook, audiobook, and print format, and he's also making one of his other works available for free for a limited time right now, which is The Gospel of Reason. So links will be down below, go check it out. Alright, today I've got a treat for those of you who like things that go boom. A Webley Mk I revolver. This is an antique top-break revolver, and also one of the most iconic handguns of history. This was adopted by the British military in 1887. I don't know how to date these, so I can't tell you exactly when this particular one was made. It doesn't have any marking saying when it was produced. And I'm not going to give you like a full history lesson on these because this is just not my time period. If you want to know that, ask Ian at Forgotten Weapons, for example, aka Gun Jesus. He's the guy for you. I'm always more interested in the practical aspects of, how do they handle, how do they shoot, etc., how do they operate, things like that. And you've probably already noticed that this has mismatched handle scales. One side of the grip is brown wood, the other one synthetic black. But, oh well, doesn't bother me too much. The white arrow on the top strap is the Royal Navy marking, by the way. These were originally chambered for the 455 Webley cartridge, which had a heavy, slow-moving projectile. 265 grains of lead, traveling at a mere 600 FPS. To put that into perspective, a modern 45 ACP is usually around 900-ish. There's some variation, of course, depending on the load. And 9mm is faster than that, so 600 is pretty slow. The cylinder has been shaved to accept 45 ACP with moon clips. This one here is made of steel. I got some of these plastic ones here because they are a lot easier to load and unload. By the way, the modification does not change its antique status in Canada. These are not classified as firearms, technically, in Canada, meaning that you don't need a license for them. You can just, buy them if you're over the age of 18. And changing the caliber, in this case, doesn't matter because the classification goes by the original caliber. It's classified as an antique because it's made before 1898. If this was a reproduction of the exact same model, it would be restricted in Canada and would require a license. And you would only be able to shoot it at official gun ranges, which is, really silly. It's literally the same thing, except antique versus reproduction. But whatever, laws are silly. I've pointed that out a number of times. So this, you can just take out in the bush, as long as you're far enough away from highways and residential buildings and being safe with it, and you're shooting on crown land, it's all good, no problem. These are some cartridges that were fired by a modern handgun, so with smokeless powder. I just put them in here for demonstration, and I fired these here with black powder with this revolver, and then left them just lying around without cleaning them to show you the difference. This is what black powder does if you don't clean it out right away. That's why you always got to take care of every firearm that shoots black powder. It's not the prettiest thing. And the primers were just mutilated. This has some pretty hard primer strikes. It doesn't have a firing pin in the frame like many later revolvers do, but instead you can see it's a part of the hammer. Right there, that pin is what hits the primer. You can see it poke through here, but only while I'm holding down the trigger. As soon as I release it, it actually retracts. The hammer spur is actually not resting on the primer when they're loaded. I said this is one of those iconic revolvers of history. The later models, Mark IV and up in particular, seem to be more popular. You see them more often. But this one here shows up, for example, in the game The Order 1886 as the Mark I service revolver. And one of the revolvers used by Indiana Jones is the WG, which is the Webley Government Army model of 1889. This hump here on the backstrap was removed from the Mark II and later models, apparently because of concern that it might cause injury when firing from the recoil. At least that's what I read, which seems pretty absurd to me. I mean, this is not a massive recoil by any means, and it's pretty comfortable. I mean, I'm sure it would probably be more comfortable if it was rounded, but personally I don't mind it, and I'm very much a fan of the bird's head style grip. It looks great, it's comfortable, and gives you pretty good grip, so that's quite nice. So as far as operation is concerned, you've got what's called a barrel catch right here. So when you push that lever, it clears the top strap here and allows you to open it up like that. And then as you open it, it automatically ejects the fire brass like this. And then the ejector snaps back down so you can load the next 6. Very well thought out. It's definitely a nice design overall, and it's very, very fast, especially compared to a lot of other revolvers, because you have to open the loading gate and manually one by one eject each fired case and insert a new one. This just boom, they pop out. And then with the original one, the 455 Webley, you would insert the cartridges one by one manually. I'm not sure if speed loaders existed for them, but in this case, the modified version with the 45 ACP, the moon clip makes it stupid easy and quick. You could do this even faster by flicking it open with one hand, which I don't like to do because this is an antique. I'll show you once, okay? Just once, but it's not something I would recommend, but just for your satisfaction. There. You can do that, and you can flick it closed again as well if you push this down. But again, this is an antique, and I don't want to be that rough on it. I don't even like to close it without pushing the barrel catch, because, you know, that way it hits the catch and forces it out of the way. So I like to push it out of the way, lock it closed, and then release. It's good to be extra gentle, just because it is an antique. I mean, you know, you could argue I'm not being gentle with it because I'm actually shooting it, and some people frown on shooting antiques, others don't. It's a matter of personal opinion. The way I see it, they were made to be used, and this one here is not particularly rare, so I don't see anything wrong with that. As long as you clean it and keep it maintained, and as I said, don't mess around with it, aren't too rough on it, I don't see a problem. And it is a lot of fun to shoot, I can say that. As I said, it's very quick. The trigger pull is very, very heavy, at least compared to modern revolvers. It's not uncommon at all for the time. Single action trigger pull is decent though. I would say the single action trigger pull is kind of more comparable to some modern revolvers double action. This is really designed for black powder. You know, some people shoot smokeless in them, very light loads, because apparently they can handle it. But if you were to use, you know, factory 45 ACP, that would be asking for all kinds of trouble. They are not rated for that sort of pressure, and you should never ever do that. So you can do very light hand loads with smokeless powder, but I've just shot black powder so far. Partly because I don't have the right smokeless powder currently, but also because it just seems appropriate. Yeah, that's what the Mark I was made for, and that way you're definitely not risking anything. One thing I noticed is as you keep shooting, especially in rapid succession, the barrel does heat up. So when you put your hand there to open it up, you will certainly feel it. It can get pretty hot, but I mean, you can always push it open with a sleeved arm, or just, man up and take it. All of that. So overall, very nice revolver. Shoots well. Compared to some other revolvers I've shot with black powder, I noticed that this one does not tend to throw powder at you. Sometimes you're gonna feel it on your hands or in your face even. Sometimes this one has not seemed to do that. And yeah, it's definitely comfortable overall and fun to shoot, as said. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the look at this antique handgun. Thanks for watching, and have a good one, folks.
You aren't kidding. The reset on the trigger is mushy, too.
Yeah. Single action's definitely better.
I think it's shooting high.